co-founder of Macroverse, coming in for a special live stream this evening, which I think is going to be a weekly thing. We are coming in kind of out of the blue with this one. We didn't really announce it, but I'm very excited about it because we're going to be figuring out a little bit of a format with one of my favorite people from the Macroverse community. So let me bring him on right now. The one and only Tiny Universe. Ta-da! We're gonna have to work on some like musical.
Yeah. I need the sound effects keyboard.
So Tiny's job is usually to try to get me to spill alpha about the things that we're working on, and maybe that'll happen here tonight as well. But we really wanted to have a weekly time, and I couldn't think of anybody better to do this with than Tiny Universe here. To just kind of look at some of the content that we've been putting out. And, if you know anything about Macroverse, we've got two platforms right now. There's a mobile app that is what we believe is kind of the best digital comics experience ever created. Currently available on iOS and Android. And we've got a bunch of content on there. There's a bunch more coming. But rather than me kind of jumping in and doing what I so often do and talk about kind of the stuff that I like on the app or the stuff that we're making on the app, I wanted to bring another legit old school comics fan who has the hard copies, the print copies to prove it, to dive into some of the things that he's been enjoying, and I personally am enjoying this X-Men shirt that he's wearing as well. Classic Jim Lee X-Men cover there. So, what I've done is I've pulled up the mobile app. So if you don't know this, a little hack as well. If you're on a Apple device, sorry, Windows users out there, if you're on a Apple desktop device, you can actually download iPad apps that have been, there's a checkbox in the store to your desktop and use them as desktop apps. So if you have an Apple device and you have the iOS app for Macroverse, you can get it on your desktop and it looks just like this. There is one bug which we are aware of, which should be fixed over the next week or so. So you may have noticed that a few things that as you're looking at series show up with this little exclamation point. We have finally tracked down what that is, and that will be disappearing from the app over the next week or so. Otherwise, everything is working well, and got a bunch of new stuff coming on, and we're excited about it. So if you don't know the Macroverse mobile app, this is what it looks like on a tablet. If you're on your phone, it's even more fully formed for the mobile phone version. But before I dive into it, Tiny, tell us a little bit about you and your history of collecting comics, being a comics fan, and then let's dive into a couple of series here on the app.
So collecting, it's funny because, man, it started when I was a kid, and I was raised in North Carolina, and I would come down to Florida in the summer times, and I would visit my grandmother, and she would go to the malls and she would walk for exercise. And in the mall, they would have these like comic book conventions. I don't know what they were back then. I don't remember, but I just remember they were huge, and that's where I would get my books. And I just remember, and even to this day, I don't really handle them too much. They stay in the packaging. I'm a collector. I'm a cover guy. Like, I just love covers. I love the cover art. But that is like my cherished memory of physicals is when I was a kid going out to these malls with my grandmother on these summer times down in Naples, and going to these little conventions and going to the stands and buying them from people, not buying them in actual stores. So that's kind of like how it started, and that's the passion for me. But I think like as far as Macroverse and my passion for Macroverse, it started with GSA for sure, and running the collector, and when Macroverse came into the GSA Discord, that is when I 100% dove in. And honestly, I had completely lost my passion for writing, my passion for comics. I had done in college some writing, and it's you guys just completely brought it all back out of me, and it's like to 10,000% now. It's not even like a hobby. It's like it's taken over my life. So no,
I mean, you're welcome, and I'm sorry. I think it's,
I know, right? I don't know, double-edged sword. But no, I love it. Now, I did have one question with what you just said about taking the app to the desktop. I know on my phone with the Epics, it took the Epics to almost like its own little Android.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
So no, there's two different things. So yes, this is another kind of cool new feature for both Android can do this, iOS can do this as well. So the Epics platform, which we'll also talk about, our collectible digital platform, you can create what's called a progressive web app or a PWA. So it feels like a standalone app, and you can bring it to your home screen or bring it to your desktop on a tablet or a computer as well. So it feels and kind of operates like a standalone app. But on iOS and Mac OS specifically, you can just download apps that are actually in the App Store as desktop apps. So essentially, you're just running mostly the tablet version of things, on your desktop. So that's how I'm sharing right now. But yes, it is possible to also get kind of the packaged version of it as a kind of app-like experience.
I was just curious, like if something was happening that you weren't aware of, because I was
no, I appreciate that. But
I was like, I feel like I've done that already.
For the Epics, yes. For the mobile app, this is the standalone mobile app. So right now we live in these two paradigms: this traditional iOS Android mobile app, which is it's $5 a month to subscribe, all you can eat access, thousands of episodes of content, over 1,000 episodes of content at this point. We're working on a bunch of new stuff that's going to be coming out over the course of this year, both on the app and then in the Epics format as well. So there's just no limit to the amount of fun stuff that's coming onto the app. We would certainly appreciate your feedback, your support. Every dollar that comes into the app goes back out to the creators. So, some of it does go to running and growing the company, but we by far have the best monetization for creators that we work with. So, comparatively, there is no comparison to the other digital platforms for comics creators as far as the portion of revenue that goes back to creators. And that's something I'm very proud of, because my background is also as a creator, as a writer, and initially as an illustrator, and someone that thought I was going to draw comics for a living and all that good stuff. So, not only did we want to make the best digital comics experience, but it's really important to me that the people that actually make this stuff that we love get fairly rewarded and compensated for the love and the effort that they put into the things that they make that we get to enjoy. And that's a big part of what Macroverse is all about. But none of that matters if we don't have great content and great stories that people want to dive into. And so, Tiny, take us anywhere on the app that you want to take us. What's a series that we could take a look at?
I mean, number one for me, I feel like the number one thing, and I feel like I owe it to these guys to bring it up, would be digital pools.
Okay, yeah. Let's go.
And not only that, I mean, like, I still think that's my Twitter profile too. I still think I'm rocking the Dead Town with the digital pools.
Yeah. There's actually there's actually two digital pool series on the app right now. There's the main digital pool series, and then there's the anthology series called Deep in the Exodus, which explores little corners of this digital world that is the digital pools. I should say I want Tiny to do a lot of the talking here about why he likes it and kind of what he's taken from this. But I want to preface by saying, watching this weekly show, there is going to be a lot of spoilers in the stuff that we are talking about. So I always do like to give that warning. Like, we're not going to be overly cautious about what we show and don't show necessarily. So, if you're someone that, likes the concept, but wants to, pun intended, dive in fresh, then you might want to like just skip ahead to see a little preview, or maybe plug your ears when we start talking about story points or anything like that. But this is the main digital pool series. And how would you kind of summarize the concept?
Oh man, gosh, I think the way that I put it before, which I really liked, was like I'm a big crime documentary person. So I don't know if you're familiar with like Lieutenant Joe Kenda and like the detective shows, but I would say like something like that meets The Matrix, or I don't know. I mean, it's just it's very Matrixy meets like a super cool crime detective series, and like it says, murder on the dark web. I mean, it all just man, I think that's the best way I can really put it. Like it just is so original to me, but I absolutely love it.
So let's dive in. Oh, looks like internet is deciding to go slow. Okay, here we go. So this is actually episode 0, which is an exclusive episode on the app as well. So talk us through kind of a little bit. The one of the things that we created for this is what we call. Sorry, it's picking up where I left off instead of me starting with.
I was gonna say I don't.
So
it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, here we go. So starting at the beginning. So I was in the middle of reading, which is why it dropped me back where I left off when I just start. So here we are, very beginning of episode 0. Shout out to Alex Robnett, who wrote and is the original creator of this, and then Matt Stevens, whose artwork is just, I think, top notch, just truly unique and perfect for the series. You can see this is in our unique tap story format. So basically every time I'm touching or tapping the screen, we're moving through the story. And this just allows us to do some fun things in the storytelling, which is, again, something we created and kind of unique, not kind of, fully unique to our platform. So, Tiny, I'm just going to keep clicking, but tell me if you want me to pause anywhere, or if you have any.
No, I mean, I think like the big thing for me, obviously, like I said, I mean, the storyline itself, if you're into crime and you're into, like that sci-fi action kind of storyline, then you're going to love the story. But the artwork, especially in the tap format, is what for me just it blows it away. Well, and I mean, I almost feel like that's everything on the app, but definitely here, maybe it's my personal taste, but the blood, the just it starts strong. So it just leaves you wanting more.
Well, I think Matt's, I'm a big fan of Matt's drawing style in general, but his color work is just
the color work for sure.
So good. Like, it's just so rich, and like, even just using this, this palette and the way he uses light and dark, it's so creates this atmosphere for the world that really.
And I will say it's almost like cheating. If you have the app and you've never been in the Discord, come in the Discord, because you're also going to get sneak peeks. But things that I've seen are, some of these pages, especially like these full screen pages, when he's working on them, you can see them and he'll put them with different colors and in different settings and stuff like that. And it's just phenomenal to see the end outcome. But no, I mean, like, you know, as you tap through it, you can just kind of see again, like, I mean, the it's just so eye appealing to me. The first couple taps, the lava, or you know, whatever that is. I mean,
Whatever that is.
the goo. I don't
The
know
goo, yes,
what
the
it
digital
is, but
goo.
you know, the bubbles and stuff. I mean, it's just it all fits so it all just looks so perfect. And you know, again, I mean, the story itself, you can see here they're busting in, and there's action, there's mystery, there's crime, and then again you have that kind of Matrix feel when they kind of come out and stuff, and it's just such a good series. I haven't broke into Exodus yet. That's definitely on the list, but no, this would be in my top three, I'm sure. You know, this is just absolutely one of my favorite series on the app, and that this is one that I can't wait for an epic for sure.
It's coming. It's definitely coming.
So,
Yeah, I'm such a fan of the series and also of the creators. I mean, they're great guys and really thoughtful and creative about kind of how they're building out this world. You know, what's kind of cool about it is, you know, they're able to kind of use this construct of the digital pools, which is this kind of digital environment, you know, that people can kind of, yeah, very, very much like the Matrix kind of project themselves into. However, it's not just limited to like one space. There's kind of every type of space or experience that people can have in the Exodus, which is actually where this, you know, digital space is, as they call it, the Exodus. And so the cool thing about the anthology series, and I'll just entice you for your impending read of it, is that each of the stories in this is kind of like a Love, Death, and Robots, or a it's kind of structured like a what is the other very cool anthology series that kind of deals with some of these same things, that's on Netflix, and I love it, and I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, it's structured in this kind of very cool anthology where each of the individual episodes, like Grease Monkeys or Black Ink, each of them is a standalone short story. With one exception, there's one that is going to continue into season 2 here. But they have this great framing device, which is, you know, kind of a little bit of a throwback.
which one?
Little bit of a throwback to something like, you know, Tales from the Crypt, or, you know, something like that, where you're getting this kind of wrapper for how all these different individual stories are being shared, or how we're able to experience them as an audience member. So just, you know, more great stuff from the same creative team. Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one for anyone that hasn't made it there yet.
I will say, I do think I did read the Grease Monkeys episode.
Yeah, which is
was a sneak peek, or
it definitely was in a sneak peek at some point, but you very well may have.
So I'm gonna say, I feel like that one I definitely saw, but I didn't start the series once it actually started to roll out. But man, look at that! I mean, I just love it. The whole, like, the space suit, everything, the colors. I mean, it all just works so perfect.
Yeah.
Really, and the tap format, and then two, I mean, as you get through it and you progress into the story, and then you get that, it's just the presentation. You get the, like, presented by Macroverse with, you know, written by and illustrated by, and I mean, like, it's almost like watching a movie. I swear, every time I start, like, I wait for the sound.
Well, that's why we have sound effects.
No, and I mean, but I don't want it. You know, like, I don't know that I really want it there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe certain things, but it's like, that's how and you can see it like as you tap. I mean, like it's just it's almost animated, and I mean, like it's just to get into each story. I mean, it's it's so addicting. I mean,
That's what we want. The first taste is free. Then we want you to
I
be
know,
hooked.
yeah. So, well, I mean, that's what happened to me. Definitely, I got into like, especially with anybody that's in the Discord and has got a chance to get one of the extended trials. That's kind of what got me is I got into some of these series, and even just one or two episodes in, and it was like when my trial ran out, I was like, oh my God, I need more.
Well, not to be greedy here, but once again, $5 a month. The majority of it goes out to the creators. So, we do have some ways to get you in for free, and we are absolutely excited to do that. But also, if you're watching this, subscribe to the app. Yeah.
I will say too, as a physical collector,
Yeah.
$5 is pretty much a single book.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like the amount of content you're getting here for $5 a month.
Yeah.
Is just insane.
It's pretty silly. Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about creasing anything or wrinkles.
Yeah. So let's go somewhere else. What's another one that has kind of a different feeling or a different vibe that you want to highlight?
Yeah, no, I mean my favorites. I think, especially being from the GSA side, is a lot of the Web3 stuff. So I think Dead Town is my big one. That's my number one. That's to me, was originally just kind of what Macroverse stood for when I was first introduced. That was the big thing that was around. So to me, that again is like the number one series for me. That's the first one that I was introduced to. It's the first one I read, and it's probably the one I'm most passionate about, having one of my anthology series greenlit. That's just it's the one I've dove the deepest into.
Yeah.
But again, it's right up my alley. It's blood and
zombies.
I posted a picture the other day of it's like a full screen of one of the Zeds with like a double knife through the head, and it's like the most amazing picture I've ever seen.
Well, yes, I mean, all credit to Stephen Perkins on that, the artist on Dead Town, and actually a couple fun little stories. So, Dead Town, of course, is near and dear to me as well. It's a series that I created and that my longtime writing partner, 20 plus years writing partner, he and I write it together. Stephen Perkins, who is now our head of production, is also the artist on Dead Town. And, anecdotally, Dead Town is responsible for so much of what we've built since then, because it's also the very first tap story. Like, we started making the series as we were figuring out this format. And so the version that's on the app right now is probably the fourth version of the way that the story actually flows. And there's actually a fifth version of it, which I now consider kind of the definitive version, which is what's in the epics. So the epic version is actually slightly different than even what's on the app right now, in that we just kept getting better at figuring out what worked in this format, how to organize the structure of the flow of the story. So, this one has some real historical significance for a lot of different reasons for me personally, but also kind of in the history of the company. And it's also a TV pilot that, it initially started as a TV pilot that Adam and I wrote, that both is probably the thing that has gotten the closest to moving into traditional, film and television production, but also was literally killed by The Walking Dead. So it has this kind of fun in quotes, kind of a moment where it's a series that does have zombies in it, and it was not turned into a TV show ultimately because there could only be one zombie show on television at that point. So we basically brought it back into this comics format, into the top story format, and we're pretty far into production on season 2, which is awesome. Bunch of new characters, bunch of new environments. You really get to see portions of the world that we don't get into in season 1. And then I'm just really proud of the epic editions, which we can show off a little bit, and the chance to build out our first character collection that we released around this, which, when Tiny's talking about having his own story, his own character, greenlit, it's within the context of Deadtown. And so, we just have these coming soon, teasers in here at the moment. Actually, hold on. I
love the name, by the way, the acid test. So
yeah.
Perfect. It's so perfect.
So hold on. Let me just.
So you're not subscribed?
I actually am. It's just because I am using it on my computer. It's not seeing it. So let me make sure I got my password right here. But there's some stuff I want to show you that is behind the paywall. So there you go. See, already subscribed. Oh, don't need to. So it's just, talking to the servers now, which takes a little longer than I wish it did. So we're kind of investigating that right now on the development side as well. But once you're in, you're in, and it's all good from there. But yeah, I mean, I think, what I am so proud of with Deadtown is we continually use it as both an expression of a story that I really care about creatively, but also, as a bit of the tip of the spear to figure out a lot of the stuff that we have figured out over the years. So it is near and dear to my heart for all of those reasons. Have I just crashed this? I think I may have. Hold on a second.
It's my fault. That's what I get for running my mouth.
Not your fault at all. But I'm going to relaunch it now, and so I might have to add it back into the stream.
I wish I could screen share because I've got it.
That's all right. We'll get it back. Just a sec.
Let's see.
This streaming app that we use, Restream, is also a little finicky, but here we go.
So and this is something I haven't checked, is the app is not caught up to the Epic, correct?
Correct. So right now they are two different things. They have some shared content. So the collectible editions of some of the series, some of the series that are available in their collectible editions are on the app, like Remind, like Deadtown. Yep. I think the only one that's not currently on the app is Bushido. So that's the first one that's kind of a Epic exclusive so far. Yep. But yeah, they're two different things. There's this, kind of traditional mobile app, the web, quote unquote, Web 2 app. And then the Epic platform, which is our, most recent release, which is, our kind of 2 years of building up to the release of the platform. We have a bunch coming down the pipe there as well. And then part of what we're working on now over the next, 6 months, ideally, certainly by the end of this year, is integrating these two systems. And so the things that you collect on the Epic side will then show up and be available in the app. Things that you have in the app will be available on the platform. So bringing these two worlds together is a big part of our focus on the tech and development side right now. So I think, that'll be something that's really fun to see. And then, without getting too deep in the weeds, we have a bunch of other plans for things that we can build on top of the experiences on both sides that we think will bring a lot of value back to creators and a lot of really fun and cool things to the fans and the readers on the app as well. So I'm very excited about, now that we've got these two pieces on the board, what we can do with them as we build out this larger puzzle. So this is the anthology series that Tiny was talking about. This little image at the top is actually from his story. And it's one of the cool things that we've been able to do is, work with, creators and people that, like he was saying, had maybe walked away from thinking that they might, write or create this kind of stuff, and be able to, help and empower people to do that and tell their own stories with their own characters in these different worlds. And this is also something, we'll be doing a lot more of over the next, forever, is, finding ways for people to bring their own creativity and energy and passion to building on top of these different worlds and franchises that we've had the pleasure of being able to bring out into the world. And so you actually see right there is his credit circle.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we'll have a profile picture in there as well. But and then the other, while we're talking about Dead Town, the other thing which I will highlight, we've put out the first episode of something that's a little different. And if you haven't had a chance to check out Dead Town Breakout, I think I would love people to take a look at this. This is the thing that we never thought we would tell. This is the actual origin of the plague that creates the zombie outbreak. So we're not going to tell you exactly how or why it happens, but we never thought we would actually share when and where and who it happened to.
So is that the one that starts on like the cell phone, basically?
Yeah, so this one is done in something we did a lot of prior to launching Macroverse, which is this chat fiction format. And so it works really nicely in the tap story format also, because it really feels like you're
getting the text message.
Yeah, like it's kind of like, what I think is so fun about this, kind of the chat fiction format is it uses something that we're so familiar with, the kind of idea of texting, as its own storytelling medium. And so every time you tap the screen, you kind of feel like you're getting the next piece of this conversation between these characters. You get to know them. There's kind of a interesting dynamic where I think as the reader, you both feel like you're eavesdropping on their conversations. You also see yourself in there as one of the characters.
Yeah.
And so, you're getting this kind of unique perspective on how this, zombie plague, this zombie apocalypse started. And as you can see, it started at school.
So now, is this was this something that you guys knew from the beginning of the storyline, or is this kind of like a...
Not exactly. We had already been working on the first season when we had the chance. So we actually wrote this for before we launched the Macroverse app. We were doing a lot of work in this medium. Like, we made ultimately produced hundreds of stories in the chat fiction medium for a couple of different companies. And Dead Town was the first one of our own kind of originals that we did, largely because we knew the comic was coming. So it was before that we launched the app, before the comic could come out, but we were already in production on the comic when we had the chance to do this. And so we basically pitched this series as a way to tie into the comic series. And ultimately that ended up working really well when we launched the very first version of the app. This series is available on another app called Yarn, which is where we actually initially published it. And then we've been rebuilding it for our own tap story format. So it functions a little differently on their app than it does in our app. I actually think, as I am often prone to saying, I think it's a little better on ours, but but I think then we segue into, what feels kind of like a FaceTime call, but now we're kind of in the more traditional comics format.
Yeah.
As we now bring these two characters into the story. And so this, this first episode is out, and then the rest are being worked on right now. But there's actually 4 seasons of Dead Town Breakout, which bring us not up to the present, quote unquote, present day where the main series is happening, but it introduces some characters. There's some Easter eggs that tie in. There's a lot of fun stuff that, both plays into what's been released and what's coming, across the app. And that series on Yarn, got close to 2 million viewers. So it was a great way to kind of introduce people to the series.
So, and again, I want to throw this out there. that's what, just 2 series right there with 6 seasons. I mean, that's just so much. So I, again, like I can't stress how much stuff is on this app. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah. You haven't started reading yet, and I told you I was going to let you drive, but I'm going to dive into Remind for just a second.
So I will say, I said I haven't started. I'm about 2 episodes in. I haven't finished.
Okay, good.
But it's like I started, and this is another one that, like, the tap in the beginning is just so perfect. It's like the stuff in the back, like everything is just so perfect with it.
Yeah. Remind is notable for a couple of reasons in the history of Macroverse. So one is, the creator of Remind is a just powerhouse named Jason Brubaker. Jason was a concept artist at DreamWorks on the Kung Fu Panda movies and a bunch of other stuff. And very, very early, one of the first webcomics creators. So one of the first people to kind of really embrace webcomics in the early days of just posting a page at a time on a website. And his first webcomic actually was the first version of Remind, was one of the first webcomics that got up to over 1 million readers every time he would post a page. And then he's also one of the very early adopters of Kickstarter. So as he segued out of working at DreamWorks, he's been able to support himself full time as a graphic novelist just by creating his own work, connecting and building his own audience, and then selling these graphic novels on Kickstarter directly to his audience. And I just think that's astonishing and wonderful, and his work absolutely deserves it. But he's just been someone that from the beginning has not only mastered this craft, but has been constantly embracing kind of the next thing. And one of the things that was, that I felt great about when he and I got to know each other and started working together is he had been looking for a digital home for his catalog. And, Macroverse and this format was the first thing that he felt really delivered on the storytelling and the experience that, he wanted people to have of his graphic novels. And so, we are now the exclusive digital home for all of his existing work, as well as his next series, which will be coming out this year and will actually debut on Macroverse before it's available anywhere else. So quite excited about that. And Remind is one of the epics that's available to collect at macroverse.com. In its kind of fully remastered widescreen version, which is also gorgeous. But if you're a fan of like Miyazaki movies, like, that is Jason's vibe, and I cannot get enough of it. I think he's just so ridiculously talented, and it just makes me happy to be able to be a part of getting his stuff out, even in a different way, and to more people, out in the world. So such a fun series, brain swapping, underwater adventure, cat with a spoiler alert, cat with a lizard brain implanted in its body. So much fun. And there's this whole world of adventure that then unfolds, as we get a spoiler here that the rat is somehow this cat Vittle's mother. Such a fun series. Let's do one more. Where shall we go to wrap up for today?
Let's see. I mean, the one that I said was Gun Candy.
Yeah. Let's do Gun Candy. Gun Candy
is awesome. Definitely not the younger viewers.
Yeah, I mean, there's that is worth noting. Like, we take a very HBO kind of approach to our content. So there is stuff on here that's absolutely all ages. Remind is absolutely appropriate for all ages. Yep. There is a rating. If you go into any of the series, it will tell you what the what the rating for the series is. So actually, I might be lying about that in the mobile app at the moment. It is implemented on the. You know where it is? it is actually it shows in the when you first start the tap story, so it is in there. But we do feel like it is important to note, like, this is very much, again, sort of an HBO model, so not everything is for everyone, but we do believe everything is very good, and that's kind of our bar here. So Gun Candy is notable in that there's a publisher called 12 Gauge Comics, which we worked with for a long time. It's who we put out the Boondock Saints graphic novel with when we did that years ago. And of course, that's here on the app as well. And Gun Candy was one of the first series that 12 Gauge put out. The artist on Gun Candy is actually one of my early mentors named Brian Stelfreeze. And just an unbelievable artist. And so, again, kind of a bucket list item for me to be able to do something with Brian's art and, kind of bring it into this new dimension and, rethink how some of the storytelling works. It's just a really wonderful experience for me to be able to do that. And one thing that's notable about this edition versus the print edition is that the print edition is actually all in black and white. And so while we didn't fully color it, we did create this kind of tonal color palette that allows us to use color as an element of the story. So depending on what the color scheme is, it kind of tells you where you are in time in the different segments of the storyline. But one of the things that Brian is just so good at is action. And you'll see as we might get into some of the more action-oriented portions of the series, just how phenomenally that plays out. Just love his art.
Yeah, and the story, I mean, again, it's another one that as I read it, like I can almost like hear her voice in my head, and it's got this like nice like crime, like almost mob feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And again, like for me, like the opening scene, and she's that's why I was laughing. It gets me every time. She's just smashing over people in the car on the phone, and she's like, "Oh, I did it again."
Yep. Well, the tagline for this one is 18 years old and no one left to kill.
It's so funny. It's just another one that's just like such a good series. I mean, that's one of the first ones I got into, I think, when I first subscribed, and it was before a ton of stuff got added. Yeah. And I just loved it. It's just such a good series.
It's fun in this section here. We get to see Brian doing his best manga, and I think does an incredible job with it. But it's a fun way to do a flashback for her, where it's all in this kind of manga aesthetic. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very good one. Definitely recommend, all the 12 Gauge stuff, which is on here, and there are a decent number of 12 Gauge titles. They're all really great. I think, Kevin Gardner, who's the editor and the publisher at 12 Gauge, just has a great eye for talent and for content, and he's done a lot of great books over the years. And it's been, again, sort of a pleasure to work with him and the creators that he has brought to the foreground along the way. So there's a few things, kind of a primer for the Macroverse mobile app, again available on iOS and Android through the traditional App Store experience. The first few episodes of many series, or at least the first episode of many series, is free, so you can kind of dive in and try things out, and then it's just $5 a month or $50 a year to subscribe for all access. Lots more coming. In the world of Web3, we also have the Nouns comic on here. The Savage Nation comic is on here. There's a few others which we haven't announced yet, which are in the kind of final stages of getting prepped to release, that also come from some communities. And if you really want to, if you want to just come and try before you buy, so to speak, come into the Discord, which is discord.gg/Macroverse, and either there's a community that you're connected to, which we've put out some free trial codes for, or ping Tiny and we'll hook you up.
I was gonna say, generally, if you just come in and you're new, I usually give you stuff for free anyway. So
yeah, we'll hook you up one way or another if you wanna try it out before you subscribe. But again, a big portion of the revenue that comes in through the app goes paid right back out to the creators. And, my number one objective here is to put more money in their pockets. So if you would help us do that, I will be very appreciative. And then, real quick, as we're kind of wrapping up this first Tiny's universe around the Macroverse experience, let me actually stop sharing the mobile app and just show people what the other side of what we built looks like. So let me stop sharing this and switch to another window. Share screen. Give me 1 second to pull this up. I'm scrolling past a script that I'm working on at the moment as well.
You don't want to accidentally share that for us?
Don't want to accidentally share that just yet. But, let's see. This, I don't know why, but is always very finicky for me selecting which window I am going to share in Restream, which is the streaming software that we use for this. So just bear with me for a second. It's like a little dexterity test to get the right thing selected before it decides to disappear. And right now it is being particularly finicky. Hold on 1 second. Well, Tiny, while I'm doing this, anything else that you want to recommend to people, or that you've been kind of particularly enjoying or geeking out on? It doesn't even have to be Macroverse related, but just in general.
I mean, I'm the biggest Hulk fan in the world, so that's the only thing that outside of Macroverse, comic wise, it's the only thing I've dove into recently, and I've been going anything sub number 200 is where I'm trying to be at these days. So I'm taking Lady Valor's advice and trying to open some of them and read, but it's so hard for me. But no, in the Macroverse, and you brought up Savage Nation. I think some of these Web3 communities and stuff that have been on here, I think Vogu was phenomenal. The first episode there was phenomenal. The artwork is just mind-blowing. That's another one that there's a full screen shot of artwork where it's the hole in the head and you're looking through it. And it's one of to me that's it's wallpaper worthy. I mean, that is that should be a t-shirt to me.
Wallpaper worthy.
One that I'm really waiting on.
Yeah. So I mean, actually, quick Vogu update while we're talking about it, because Jason Trinidad was one of the co-creators of the Vogu, and actually, I just love these stories. The history of where these projects come from is something I just love knowing and kind of understanding. And so for Jason, Jason has been drawing Vogu style characters, for a decade at least. I think going back to notebooks at 10 years old, these, humanoid bodies, robotic heads, and so. I think, people sometimes think that, especially in the Web3 or NFT space, that, these, character collections or PFPs are just something that people throw together. And sometimes they are. Sometimes they absolutely are things that you hire somebody, not you, but, people have certainly hired an artist on Fiverr, threw a collection together, threw it up, hoped to make a bunch of money, and then pieced out. It has happened way too many times. But the ones that, really stick, and the ones that, I get excited about and believe in, are more like Vogu, where this is something that, Jason has been working on and creating and thinking about and obsessing over, most of his creative life. And this medium of NFTs, this medium of creating a batch of characters that live in a world. There's a story, that kind of underlines why they're there, who they are, where they came from, where we're going to experience them as they grow and expand. There's something so rich there. And when you add the ability for people like you and I to own some of these characters and then be the shepherds of their story, in this world, to me, that's just so interesting and so exciting and so new in the context of how these things get made. that, it's the thing I've really become so passionate about. And so, Jason and I had a pretty long conversation last week about kind of what we're up to this year with Vogu. It is the release of the full comic series. And so, I'm working on scripts for that with him right now. And we're opening up some new areas of the Vogu universe, which, are also sort of passions of his and mine collectively. So I think the collaboration there is going to be, really fun for us and really fun for people to see. And then there's some other stuff that we intend to do, with the collection and, things in general that I think people will also be excited about. But the world, the universe that's there to play in is just so delightfully rich and full. And then, of course, the anthology stories that, have been created in the community will also come out on the app in short order for all of these worlds. So, we have the teasers in place for the Bushido's anthologies, for the Dead Town anthologies. We've got Wanderer stuff coming. We've got Vogu stuff coming. We'll end up getting into GSA finally, and KIA, and some of these other things this year as well. So so much on the way, and then more characters that people can play with will also be released this year. So there's just a lot of fun stuff coming for people that choose to kind of come and play in this broader ecosystem. And part of that is this platform that we've been kind of teasing and talking about, which is our Macroverse Epics platform or Worlds platform. And it's a lot of similarity to the mobile app, but taken in a slightly different direction, where we think of each of these franchises in the context that they are a world to play in. And it's a big part of my belief that the future of entertainment and the way that the next generation of franchises will be created is this kind of co-creation model, or I almost think of it as like Roblox for entertainment, where we're creating a foundation, we're telling our own stories, we're supporting creators and telling their stories, but then there's some open space for the community, the fans, and people that want to come and play and get their hands dirty and roll up their sleeves to make an impact, to have a piece of this as it expands and as it grows. And so I'm very excited about where all that heads, where I think all of that heads. And part of that is the ability to now collect digital comics in a way that has never been possible before. So each of these series, these first 5 series, again, Remind, Darkland, Hex 11, and Dead Town, are also available to read on the mobile app, but this is the only way to collect them currently. And then Bushido's is an exclusive on the Epics platform at the moment. So you can come here and connect a wallet and mint editions of these collectible epics, as we call them, these collectible graphic novels. And instead of it being a piece of artwork where you then, are able to download a PDF, or, most of what we've seen in the space around collectible comics, the whole thing is packaged into what we call an epic tile. And so I'll use Remind as an example, since we were looking at it on the mobile app. Once you've minted your epics, you come in here to the epic section. You can also get a free preview of each of the series by coming in here and visiting each of the different worlds. But once you have your epics and you go to my epics, which this is also one little bug we found. So, always squashing bugs when you're making software. But if you see that, just hit reload. Go to my epics. So these are epics that I have in my wallet right now. And they're all represented by this interactive tile. And so this is, a fully contained digital graphic novel in this collectible format. And you can see, what edition you've got, how rare it is. In this case, these are all limited to an edition of 1,000 for each series. We will never make more of these series. So super limited, super collectible. 22 out of 710 of this particular edition have been minted so far. You get to learn a little bit about the series and then see, which episodes are currently included in this edition. We put new episodes out into these collectible versions every week or so as they're released until the full either season or story has been completed. In the case of Remind, I believe it's 14 or 15 episodes, and it's the full graphic novel length experience. And then the other thing I just want to highlight real quickly is that when you go into the Epic format, it also knows what device you're looking at it on. So if you're on your phone and you connect your wallet and you get to your Epics and you either hit the continue button to pick up where you left off, or dive into an episode by clicking on an episode. If you're on your phone, you get a similar version to what you saw on the mobile app, and that it's formatted for your phone. But if you're on your desktop or your tablet, you're going to get this beautiful widescreen version. And so it's just one of the things that I feel proud of. I'm proud of our team of just figuring out how to deliver this material in a way that is truly crafted with just no other word that I can use than love for making something that is just the best experience of it in any digital device that you can pick it up on. I like to think of this widescreen Epics format is kind of the first graphic novel that makes sense on a TV potentially. And just being able to kind of see this beautiful large widescreen version of how we move through the story and have it be really configured for this experience. Again, just something I'm very proud of. And so that is what Remind looks like when you collect it. We are doing a live stream or a live reveal of a video that Jason Brubaker, the creator of Remind, and I recorded last week, and that will be up tomorrow morning. So if by any chance you're a comics fan, but maybe haven't made your way into the world of Web3 and NFTs at this point, that's a full walkthrough of how do you get a wallet, how do you put some funds in there, how do you mint, how do you collect, how do you read. Like, we're going soup to nuts with Jason. And part of the fun of that, I didn't realize until we were about 3/4 of the way recording it, is that Jason had minted one NFT, which I'm lucky enough to own. But this is the first time that he's collected anything outside of minting that. So he had a wallet, but he had never collected an NFT. So technically his first NFT that he collected is also his own work, which I kind of think is kind of wonderful. That is epic.
Hey, so I want to mention too with those tiles. Sorry, I'm losing my voice again.
Yeah,
there's more than just stories. So there's stuff in there like the widescreen version of like the cover art and stuff. I mean, there's just a bunch of cool stuff that that really makes it a special collectible, as opposed to just the same thing as what you're getting on the app. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, so you get this this beautiful version of the widescreen cover art. We talked a little bit about the the different editions. You can also download high-res versions of the cover art, so you can make it into wallpaper or use it on your phone. It's got these awesome black and white ink editions, which is just Jason's brand new exclusive cover, which is only available for these Epic editions. It's great, beautiful line work in the black and white version. And then there's a animated edition, which I also think is just particularly awesome, where it's Jason's art and then animated. And so in this case, there's literally 19 animated editions of each series in the entire collection. So these are super rare, super awesome. Just such a cool thing that, once again, like, part of what I love about these is finding things that you can only do in this format, and doing something like an animated cover, can't do that in print. So so it just makes it extra special. So I'd say first episode of Tiny's Universe. Are we, you think, same bat time, same bat channel? How's that feeling for you?
I think it's all right for me.
Okay. Very good.
I think we're doing good so far.
Yeah, I think so too. So there'll be some new stuff coming out on the app, on the mobile app this week. There'll be some new episodes delivered into Epics this week. There already have been a couple of new ones. There'll be a couple more. Just dive in. I mean, I want to hear from other people what you're enjoying, what you're reading, what you're vibing with, what you want to see more of. You know, if you've got feedback on the experience, like this is all stuff I care deeply about. So, you know, I want to hear about it. And, you know, I think Tiny is going to be becoming a little more the face of the fandom side of, you know, a lot of what we're working on and building. So, you know, we'll be doing the first few of these together, but then we want to start inviting some other people, you know, on to talk about some of this stuff. And we know we've got a lot of really creative, you know, wonderful people in the community, and I want to invite more people to come and, you know, play with us as well. So this will be an ongoing, evolving thing over the next little bit as we kind of find the right format and make this as fun for us and for you as we possibly can.
So, and I just want to tell everybody to come to the Discord because, you know, I've got a lot of friends in the Web3 community that have the app, maybe are familiar with Macroverse and what we do, but they're not in the Discord. And anybody that sees this, come in. The community's phenomenal. So get in there, come hang out, see all the cool sneak peeks and the hidden content that you're not getting.
Yeah, the Discord really is phenomenal. It's one of the things that, again, like the kind of semi surprises, you know, that I have found for myself, you know, kind of coming into this space. You know, one of them is how much I enjoy the kind of co-creation, community creation process around this content. But the other one just is, you know, we've really managed somehow, and I'll give a lot of credit to Tiny and a lot of other the kind of core community members. Somehow we've managed to have a Discord, which is actually a wonderful place to hang out. And I've been in some others that are maybe slightly more challenged to say that. But it's just a great group of people that support each other, that are there for each other, that, you know, we really genuinely care about, you know, how we're all doing and what we're up to. And, you know, if we can make some noise and do some damage creatively along the way at the same time, you know, all the better. So yeah, it's a great space. And come be a part of the Macroverse. We'll have some fun things that you'll only be able to do if you are in the short, medium, and long term. And even though he didn't ask for it, I will end by giving a little bit of alpha here. I said this in Discord, in the general chat earlier today or yesterday, and another person who I absolutely treasure, Lady Valor, I think felt a little pressured. So I don't mean it as pressure. I really do just mean it as alpha. If you like any of the stuff that we're doing, get yourself a Solana wallet and get yourself on Drip House, drip.haus. That's all I'm going to say about it for now. That is not the obvious thing that you think it is, but it will be a good place to be. And I will say personally, I'm having a ton of fun, regardless of anything that we do on there. It's an awesome platform.
It's super fun. I've got so much cool free artwork.
Yeah, exactly. You grab a wallet on Solana. I recommend Phantom Wallet. Sign up for Drip House. You subscribe to some artists that you like, and they start dropping you free NFTs. It's such a wonderful way to get your feet wet, you know, explore stuff that you like. And it's kind of like if all your favorite people on Instagram just started giving you the stuff.
Giving you free stuff.
Yeah. It's a great experience. It really is. So my hat off to the Drip House team as well. But we got some stuff coming up. It's, again, not necessarily what you think it is based on what I've said, but it's the way that it's where you'll want to be positioned for what the next thing is over the next 6 weeks or so. Plus, just get some cool stuff in the meantime. So that's my little tidbit for you. Come into the Discord, download the mobile app, collect some epics, let us know how we're doing, what you think, what you want to see us talk about. Drop some comments on YouTube or X or wherever you're watching the video. Tune in with Jason and I tomorrow morning, and Tiny's Universe.
And come back next week.
We'll be back next week, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, and we'll make this a weekly thing and have some fun.
Absolutely.
Tiny, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciated.
Thank you.
And I'm going to end the stream in 3, 2, 1.